Hello everyone, I'm Steve Wilson of the Friday Night Locker Room, SpaceCoastDaily.com. Going into last Friday, there were two Brevard County teams left playing football, the Cocoa Tigers and the Viera Hawks. After last Friday, we're down to one. Hawks, they're there, Alan.
Yeah, the high-powered offensive Viera all year long, Steve, really gets them to this point, but it's the defense on Friday night that propelled them to the Final Four. Fantastic effort. Marco Foreman, Brandon Mays and company really did a phenomenal job of keeping A.J. Davis in check from Lakeland. And that Viera Hawks defense looks stout heading into this weekend.
That seemed to be the key last weekend because there was so much talk about the Lakeland Dreadnoughts. 6-time state champions. Viera Hawks had only won 2 playoff games in their history, and that was this year. But the Hawks came to play.
Yeah, they sure did. They got out to a quick 14-0 lead, capitalized on a turnover, a fumble by Lakeland, but they were able to hold on. They scored only 10 more points the rest of the way, but again, that defense held firm.
Anthony Knockreiner, any surprises from your viewpoint last week?
No, I don't think any surprises. I think Viera Hawks did exactly what we thought they needed to do. They needed to get off to a fast start. They needed to find a way to contain Robinson, Young, and A.J. Davis for Lakeland, and they were able to do that for the most part. Robinson and Young were really non-factors for about 3/4 of that football game. A.J. Davis was really the only person hurting them, and they found a way to contain him as well, as Alan said. Mays, Foreman, Folson as well, Boyd, and so many of the other Viera Hawk defenders. There's just 11 of them, 12, 13 of them that come in and out that we just can't name. But the Viera Hawks defense did a nice job adjusting to the speed of Lakeland. And this week, it's going to be interesting to see what they have to do going up to Jacksonville.
Well, the Hawks have made it to the Final Four. It doesn't get any easier. They're playing a Columbia team that, look on paper, they've scored a lot of points and have won a lot of games. What do the Hawks have to do this Friday to be successful?
Their secondary is going to have to clamp down a ton this week. Davin Shuck, 35 touchdown passes, 13 interceptions this year. They averaged nearly 46 points a game, Steve. 537 points they've scored this year. That's 300 more than anybody else in their division classification. It's interesting. You look at Hayden Kingston and Davin Shuck, nearly 70 touchdowns combined, less than 25 interceptions. I'd say this is going to be an aerial show with Viera secondary really having to step up this week.
In Class 7A, there's so much talk about St. Thomas Aquinas from down south. That's who we have heard about for years. But a team like Columbia, Knox, starts putting up monster numbers, and it has to catch your eye.
It does, and listen, we don't get to see a whole lot from the north side of the state with Jacksonville, the Panhandle, stuff like that. We always know about the southern teams, the Booker T's, the Miami Centrals, and like you said, the St. Thomas Aquinas. But Columbia is a very good team in their own right. They've dominated this season. They've got impressive wins over Bowles, Swanee, Buckholtz. They've done a nice job in the playoffs, once again dominating. They won over Bartram Trail 51-14. Now, you look at that last week, that was a regional final game for this team, whereas the Viera Hawks, now maybe they face a tougher opponent in the Lakeland Dreadnoughts, but still Viera only was held to 24 points. I don't know what Bartram Trail, I didn't see the game last week, but either way, if you're the Viera Hawks, you know, as Alan said, the defense is going to have to clamp down, and I think this plays right into the Viera strength with their pass rush. They've got guys that have got five guys with 5 or more sacks this season, so I think this feeds right into that defensive line coached by Joe Cohen.
And Alan, last year the Hawks ran the table during the regular season, really got waxed in the first round. This year they lost a few games, played much tougher opponents. Do you think that's going to help prepare them for a game like this Friday?
I do. We were talking about it during the broadcast Friday night about how this game last year, this Viera Hawk team may not have held on to win. But you're talking about games against Cocoa, Palm Bay, Allen, Texas, prepared them for what Lakeland was going to be able to do. You knew that head coach Bruce Castle was going to make the adjustment, being down 14-0, but because that Viera had already seen Allen, Texas, John Wilkinson and the Cocoa Tigers, Dan Burke in Palm Bay, that they would be able to hold tight, and they did, Steve.
All right, Anthony, it's time. The Hawks have to travel to Lake City Friday night. Who's going to win the game? And tell me exactly what the Hawks have to do to win. But bottom line, who's going to walk away with a win and advance to the state finals?
Well, listen, I was talking to some people around the state of Florida that cover the high school football scene, especially up in the Jacksonville area, and I got some directions. Now, don't quote me on these directions, but I think we got to take I-95 to I-10, and then we get into Lake City.
I'm not following any of your directions. We've done that before. Last year we went down south to Clewiston. We ended up circling Lake Okeechobee twice on your directions. So we're going to throw it to Alan for directions in a minute. But tell me, the Hawks, are they going to come away with a win?
I think very much so. I think head coach Kevin Mays in that Viera Hawks team. Listen, you faced the Lakeland Dreadnoughts, a team that's got tradition and a storied program, and it's not been that long ago. 10 years ago, they were national champions. They had the Pouncey brothers. They had former Gator great Chris Rainey. I mean, they had a lot of outstanding football players only just a few years ago, and Viera wasn't scared. So I think going up to Jacksonville, Viera's not worried either. They're not scared. They are confident. We spoke to Jay Boyd afterwards as well. He's very confident. The entire team's confident, and that's what you have to have. A team with belief that they can advance to and beat any team is a very, very dangerous team. I think the keys, though, for the Viera Hawks, Hayden Kingston has to be kept clean. His jersey cannot get dirty on Friday night. He has to have time in the pocket. He has to find Cabrera. He has to find Trey Nixon. He has to find his group of wide receivers and get them in open spaces. DePlanke has done a nice job this season. He's a very tough runner. Underrated running back, I think, because he bounced off several Lakeland defenders Friday night. They've got to find a way to mix it in, get a little balance going, and get 5 or 10 yards of pop on draw plays, so that way Hayden Kingston can stay clean. The other thing is, keep the penalties limited. Do not get any 15-yarders. You know, obviously it's tough to say to play perfectly, but you've got to be penalty-free in this game on Friday night. Don't give Columbia any chances. And obviously, the turnover margin. You cannot turn the ball over this late in the game. You can't have multiple turnovers. I say Viera, at most, you can give up one, but that's about it. And the field position battle. They've got to be able to flip the field. If they can't score, pin Columbia back deep and make them go 95 yards, because it's not easy to go 95 yards in high school football. Defensively, as Alan said, I gotta think it's got to be the secondary. I think we're going to see a lot of nickel and dime packages because Columbia likes to throw the football. Now they can also run as well, and the defense for Brandon Mays and Foreman and the pass rush need to find ways to get to Shuck all night long, provide pressure, and get Columbia uncomfortable. When I say Hank Kingston's got to be, his jersey's got to be clean, the opposing quarterback for Columbia, his jersey needs to be dirty all night long from that Viera defense. And I'm pretty sure head coach Kevin Mays and them, they've got to take care of some things in special teams as well. Maybe get a little creative and find ways to get yourself big plays, because I think that's what it's going to take here. Whoever can make the most big plays on a Friday night.
And that is going to be who?
That is going to be the Viera Hawks. Once again, I will take the Viera Hawks 34-31 over Columbia and advance to their first state championship game.
I like the sound of that. Alan, who's going to win the football game and why?
I'm going to take the Viera Hawks, but I think it's going to come down to a defensive play or a turnover. You said dime packages. It's going to be dime packages all night long for both these defenses. 4 receivers for Columbia, at least 30 catches and 6 touchdowns this year. Trey Nixon, Alex Cabrera. This is going to be an aerial attack that maybe we haven't seen in quite some time in Florida high school football playoff. I like the Viera Hawks. I'll take the senior quarterback, Hayden Kingston, over the junior quarterback, Davin Shuck, in this one. Give me the Viera Hawks. I like the Hawks 38-31.
Ooh, I like it. We have 2 Hawk prognosticators here, and I'm going to jump on the wagon. I think they played well all year long. They're not going to be intimidated. They played the big boys. Might not have beaten them, but they're going to be ready to play football. I think Coach Mays is going to have them pointed in the right directions. Once again, the winner advances to the state championship a week from Friday at 7 p.m. Should be a good one. It will be the Friday Night Locker Room game of the week. It'll be heard on 89.3 FM, 90.3 FM, online at spacecoastdaily.com and FNLR.net. Should be a lot of fun Friday night.
I'm excited. Can't wait.
For Space Coast Daily, I'm Steve Wilson of the Friday Night Locker Room.